What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you how to trim down this inside round, aka top round, and we're going to be trimming it down into some thin cut top round steaks so that I can make it into some stir fry. We'll get a couple London broils out of it, and then we'll probably be taking a couple pieces and making it into, setting it aside so I can make some cube steaks with it. So let's get right into it. Alright, so this is our inside round, aka top round, and this one's kind of denuded, and denuded means that this fat cap that was sitting on top was pretty much taken off. There's a little bit left on, so I'm going to go ahead and just start taking off this fat cap right here. It's going to stay right on top of this fat cap. Shed it all out. Down here. Kind of just hug right against it. Come work our way over to the side. Again, we're using this piece of meat for some stir fry, some London broil, probably some cube steaks. So we don't need too much fat left on here. So once we get all this fat removed off this cap, we're gonna go ahead and start just kind of working into it. So we're gonna start peeling it away. If you leave this cap on, and if you're trying to cut some London broils or top round steaks, it makes that steak or that London broil look really ugly with this little flap on top. So if you take it off, it just kind of makes it more appealing. Got to trim up this front piece. Got a little bit of bone right here. Just cut around it. Throw the bone away. Just work this, shave this little top layer of meat out right here. Now, like I said, we're using this for some stir fry, cube steaks, probably a couple London broils, so we don't want any of this ugly connective tissue on here, silver skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take this on out of here. Doesn't take too long to get through this part of the trimming up process. We got all that done now. We'll go ahead. We're not quite done trimming it up yet because the belly of this is very ugly. Look at that. We don't want to leave all that on there. So I'm gonna go back to my smaller knife so I can just get right underneath all this connective tissue. Start working it out of here. You got this fat pocket right here. Always take that out. Makes your London broils, steaks, whatever you're doing, look very ugly if you leave that in. So anything that's just kind of already falling off, has a little bit of hangingness to the meat, fat, connective tissue, always take it off. You don't want a piece of meat just hanging off your roast or your steak. It's all about appeal in the meat department. If it doesn't look appealing, 9 times out of 10, it don't sell. That 1 time out of 10, it will sell because it's cheap normally. Get right underneath all this connective tissue. This is the ugly part. Only part that I hate about trimming up this piece of meat is because it seems like you're taking off so much. It's also why we usually get this at a fairly cheap price, because of how much you got to take off before you can really do anything with it. Next, what I like to do is make sure there isn't really too much ugliness right up on here. When I was shaving that front piece off, pretty much got all the ugliness. It's how I refer to it. It's just ugly, unappealing looking fat and meat, connective tissue. So once we got all that pretty much done, we're gonna go in and I'll show you how this was sitting on here. So we got this cap that we pulled off. This is the back end. This is the front end. So this is the end that we start with. Easy way to remember is this is a very thick piece on this cap. So when you take it off, just remember that that side is the back end, and that's where you end. So to start off on this front piece, we hit it at an angle. You don't just go across. You don't just go straight up and down. You hit it at an angle. Front piece, normally stew that, make it in some stew meat. Don't want to steak with that, right? Like I said, we need some stir fry and some cube steak. So I'm gonna start off by cutting some thin pieces over here to make some stir fry pieces. So get enough over bundle. I'll go ahead and start over on another little grouping. Go one more. Go ahead and I'll cut about steak thickness, because I'm going to use these for some cube steaks. So I'll cut these pieces in half. And then I'll have 2 pieces of cube steaks. Set that off to the side. Do the same thing. And then the nice thing about this cap that we took off, this thin piece, I'll trim all this up, and I'll be able to use that for some cube steaks or stir fried, just depending on what I want to use. So I don't need too many London, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut one. And that's just a thick cut top round steak, London broil. And I'm gonna go ahead and just save this for a top round roast. So I'm gonna grab one of these. Got a top round roast right there. Grab one of these. Got a London broil right there. Now we're kind of just going to trim up these pieces for cube steaks. Don't want to leave these fatty pieces on, makes the cube steak look unappealing. But these pieces I am saving, I will use for some stew meat. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab these trays now. If I think they're a little too big, I'll cut them a little smaller. Pieces that I'm saving, cutting off to make these smaller, we'll go for stew meat. I do need some stew meat, so that also works in this situation. One package. Kind of half tempted to try cut this one in half, but I'm okay. Like I said, I do need stew meat. Get all these cut, sized up. Got 3 packages of cube steaks right here. I'll go ahead and start cutting some of these into some stir fry. Start doing it just like that. Pretty simple way to do it. Instead of having to cut all of those individual pieces, just leave them stacked on top of each other. Turn them over to the side. I'll grab a stack of 3 right here. I like how that looks. Couple different pieces of meat you can cut your stir fry from. This is one of them. A lot of people kind of get at me for it here online, but you can also use eye of round. It also helps if you marinate those eye of round stir fry. It helps tenderize them a little bit. Eye of round's kind of a tougher meat, so you can also use eye of round. This. You can use a flat, which is your bottom round. My opinion, doesn't really matter as long as you can get thin cut pieces of meat, strips of meat. Just call it stir fry. That's ultimately how I see it.
What up?
Making a video.
Nice.
Don't mind that ugly guy in the background.
Just had to fucking yell at some kids. They're throwing shit around over to your right side. So I walked up to him, I said, "What the fuck are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, he accidentally dropped the hammer." And I just fucking stared at him. And they got all serious and fucking walked out.
It's not the department to go into and throw things. A lot of shit over in that department's expensive.
He didn't just drop a fucking hammer because it happened like 4 or 5 times. I was like, dude, okay, now I'm fucking pissed off. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you.
Well, thanks for the share. Sorry about that, YouTube. Putting these over in these other packages I've already made. All right. Sorry, I gotta adjust over here. Sweatshirt's falling down. So after we got stir fry made, cube steaks made, let's go over to this flat, this cap that we took off. So it's very thick, this one side. I like to just find a good spot to where I can just cut this through, because we're gonna go through this and you'll just pull out big pieces to try and make it into stew meat. But as you can see, this is all uneven everywhere. Uneven everywhere. So what I like to do here is just kind of square it all up. And once we get all that nice and squared up, It's gonna go through here. Let's get right underneath all this connective tissue. Just take it on out of here. Like I said, I normally use this piece for some stir fry or some cube steaks. I got my stir fry. Could use a couple packages more of some cube steaks. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this fat and all this connective tissue out of here, silver skin. Don't need to get it all, but pretty much you don't want to be leaving big old pieces on it, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of a cube steak. Tenderize it or beat the shit out of it, and then you batter it and fry it. You have that fat on there, it's not going to be super tender. You're going to bite into it and you're going to have that little stringy pieces. So just want to pretty much take off as much as you can. I'll go ahead and split these. 2 more packages. Some cube steaks. Get the thick piece with the thin piece. Thick piece with the thin piece. Go back to this. Here in my meat department, obviously, it's a little bit easier for us to break pieces of meat down like this, because we get to grind it down into some ground beef when we're done with it. If you're ever in the market to buy one of them handheld crank grinders, because you like to trim up meat yourself at home, highly recommend it, because all of this is good meat to make into some hamburger. So now we'll just kind of break these big pieces down, get them to where I can start cutting them into stew meat. Got this little seam on this one. Get that out of there. Pretty simple cut of meat. It seems like there's a lot to do, but you're pretty much just prettying it up the whole time. That's all you're doing. Again, you can get a lot of pieces of different things from that one big piece of meat. We got a London out of it. Could have gotten a couple Londons. We got a top round roast, which is basically just a London broil, but left in more of a roast form than a thick cut steak form. Stir fry, stew meat, cube steaks, cut top round steaks. Basically all you're doing, those thin pieces that we were cutting for the stir fry, just cut them a little bit thicker, or you can leave them that thin and then you have thin cut top round steaks. But a bunch of different little pieces of meat you can get out of that. If you're really wanting to, you could also use it for some what's the word I'm looking for here? Jerky. You can thin slice it, cut it to size for some jerky if that's what you're wanting to do as well. One stew meat package, and started another one. If you liked what you saw, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to let you know when I do post a new video and when I do go live. Have a great rest of your day. See y'all another time.